All right, guys, welcome back to the Workbench, your resource rich weekly podcast and newsletter. As always, the Workbench is brought to you by Lead Truffle, the number one AI speed to lead system for local business. Today, very excited to be joined by Marcel. She is the owner and operator of Blue Moon Estate Sales in central Tampa. Uh, been with them for how long now, Marcel? Remind me.
This is my 10th month.
10th month. All right. So pretty
Yes.
new to the game, but been there long enough, I'm sure, to have some good learnings. So really excited to
Mhm.
dive into her story in terms of joining a franchise, why Blue Moon Estate Sales, and all that good stuff. Marcel, before we dive in, do you mind telling folks a little bit about you and the business that you run?
Yeah, no, thanks so much for having me, Brian. Yeah, so I came into this a little bit just kind of by luck and chance, but I had been running a small business in Tampa for about the last 10 years, and the owner there had taken a step back, and so I was really kind of running the whole deal over there. And I think part of my whole career, really, the theme has been that I'm one of those Jill of all trades. I really lean into the fact that I kind of step back and see the big picture of things and kind of understand how all those pieces connect, and then I can kind of finagle around those things a little bit better than some people who are specialists and really excel in one area of the business. I've sort of had that basic skill set of stepping back and having more of that eagle eye view of things. But for me, it was really exciting to be that diverse and to really have sort of a hand in all areas of that business and sort of be sort of at the hub of all of it. And at some point, I think I just stopped and said, what more am I going to do here, and where can I go with this? And so business ownership started to feel like the right next phase for me. And I started working with a consultant who was into placing people in franchises, and that was not something I had ever considered before. I was a little kind of mystified by the whole idea. To me, it was kind of like, you want me to own a McDonald's? You want me to?
Yeah, yeah,
But, then I started to learn more about it. And really, the reality is that franchising is becoming a much more accessible way for people to get into business ownership without a lot of capital at their
yeah.
disposal, without the need for a lot of, overhead and a brick and mortar and all kinds of things that, I think the current environment just lends itself a lot more to people being able to kind of get into it, and it's more accessible for folks. So like myself. And so I started to talk to different franchise models and figure out, what worked well for what I had in mind. And estate sales was kind of interesting because I had never even gone to an estate sale before I owned this business. But it turns out it checked a lot more than boxes on paper. It really does fit my lifestyle pretty well, and it's doing things that I hadn't really expected or planned on. It really got me deep into the community that I'm in, which is something that I had been lacking, and I'm really excited about that piece. So that it just became something that was, like I said, I kind of stepped into it luckily. So.
Yeah, totally. For people that don't know, what is an estate sale? And then more specifically, what does Blue Moon Estate Sales do?
Sure. So we come in when folks are doing in the middle of any kind of big transition, right? So a lot of times we're helping seniors at that point of life where they're needing to transition into assisted care, memory care, or sometimes it's after they've already passed and the family is then taking control of the house and all the possessions inside and trying to figure out what to do. A lot of times we're working with the family specifically. Sometimes we're even working with a realtor or an estate attorney, but it's usually during those times of transition where the house is now going to head to the market to be listed, and people take a look inside and go, oh my gosh, what are we going to do with all the stuff here? Right? It's
Yeah.
the liquidation process. So, an estate sale is a great way to turn all of that stuff into some either quick proceeds so that they can apply that to the next phase, whatever is going on in the next level. It's also just a great way to clear it out and make it really quick to list it on the market. So we do work with a lot of realtors from that angle. They just need to get it out of there and set it up nicely so they can list it and sell it. But that's what we do. We go in about a week's time. We take everything out. We sort through everything that's sellable. We stage it. We photograph it, market it, advertise it. and price it. And then we have a 2 or 3 day quick sale over a weekend, clear as much of it as we can, and then call in people for donations and clear out and clean out at the very end. So really taking that whole experience down to about 7 days to clear out an entire house.
Wow. What do you do with the stuff that doesn't move?
A lot of times we will call in for donations. We'll have pickers come in and donate to different charities or things like that. Sometimes the family wants to go through things one more time and just, decide what they want to do with, give away some things or take some things, reclaim some things. Unfortunately, some things just go straight to the dumpster at the
Mm,
end.
hmm.
And, that's one of my little pet peeves. I'm always trying to find homes for things, particularly things that, are very sellable. They just
Yeah.
needed a longer shot at finding the right buyer or the right home.
Yeah. Is part of the business ever kind of getting some of those things on eBay or any of that? Or how's the sale happen? Is it mostly in person? Is it Facebook Marketplace? What's the process?
Ours are mostly in person, although I'm looking for avenues to do that online as well. So, a chance to even get into auctioning for, especially for estates where, an in-person estate sale just doesn't make any sense. Sometimes that happens with high rises, which is obviously a big thing down here in Tampa, right on the bay, or sometimes HOAs that have rules about not having estate sale activity in their communities. And, we really want to be able to find solutions for all of those types of pockets of people as well. So,
Okay.
an online forum is a great way to kind of balance that out and expand the services that we have as well. But most of ours are in person, and there's a lot to be said about that too. I mean, our shoppers are really gung ho to be there. They're fun events for the community. We get
Yeah.
a lot of neighborhood activity, and we get a lot of resellers, and those resellers are usually repeat customers that are coming to, sale after sale. We really support each other's businesses. So, I feel very strongly that that's a great avenue for them as well. But in a lot of cases, they kind of win at the end of that, just circling back to, what do we do with the stuff at the end? And resellers do benefit a lot from some of those things. If we go to a deep, deep discount at the end, they'll just come and clean it out.
Stepping back, so you meet with this franchise consultant. I'm curious what your evaluation process was like with that person. Were you looking at any franchise? What did they take you through? What was that evaluation process and journey like you leading up to eventually picking Blue Moon? What were you initially looking at? What you like? What didn't you like during that process?
Sure. So it was a good thorough kind of deep dive into what are my goals, what are my skill sets, where am I coming from, what do I want, and what do I have to really achieve it? What's my capital, what's my financing look like, what kind of timeline am I looking at? And so I worked with a consultant, as I said, to kind of unearth a lot of that information, and then he put me on a path of different recommendations, and I kind of looked at a few of them and just sort of ruled them out immediately, just that it didn't feel like a fit for me personally. And then there were a few I was very interested in. They did fall into a lot of these sort of senior care supporting roles. I looked at a assisted living placement, some cleaning services and things like that. But to be honest, I had the best fit with Blue Moon more from a personal level, meeting
Mm-hmm.
with them. It felt like a good personal fit.
Mm-hmm.
And then we took it from there. Then the more I learned about it, the more excited I got about it. But it definitely, like I said, it checked a lot of boxes for me.
Yeah. Great. So what's been the hardest part about the first 10 months running this business?
It's the first year in business, so you can imagine it's got all the ups and downs, sort of that cliche first year that you would hear about. But it's there's a ton to learn. That's also one of the benefits of it. I mean, in my view, I love that challenge, but it certainly also comes to bite you in the back a little bit along the way. So you really have to be ready to pivot really quickly and figure things out on the fly and be resourceful. And a lot of that is exciting and fun. And I think there's been more highs than lows at the end of it, but it's definitely got those moments where you have to stop and just remind yourself not to panic. Just
Yeah.
dig in and keep rolling with it.
Yeah. What has been working for you from a marketing perspective? How much are you doing new creative things versus the franchisors bringing you leads? I'm curious about, and I'm sure our listeners too, who are entrepreneurs in this relatively niche segment. What's working for you to get new customers?
At this juncture, I don't know exactly what is the key thing working. At this point, still throwing a lot of spaghetti at the wall, but
Yeah.
I am doing a lot of different things. And one of the things that, I am, excited about from a franchise perspective is that I do have that marketing team, that corporate level marketing team for the parent company that's really got their ball. I mean, they've got their act together with all of that. So I've been able to utilize that to my best benefit. But in terms of local marketing and organic relationship building, referral relationships are really important. They take time to develop, and so that's something that, as a new business owner, going back to what are my what have been the biggest hurdles? That's the balancing the time of actually being a full 100% operator and getting out there in the community and forging those relationships with other industries that I can, kind of that we can have that give and take. That's time consuming. And I mean, that's important to do and it's rewarding to do, but it definitely is like when you have the time to go do that.
Yeah.
But I think that those are the really the bigger bang for your buck because when you do have those moments, a lot of this type of business happens suddenly, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's people aren't in some cases, people are kind of planning for these things.
Right.
Like, okay, I know we have to kind of get mom's affairs in order and plan for her to transition. But in a lot of cases, these happen quickly,
Mm-hmm.
suddenly, and people don't always know where to start. And so, if they start with a realtor and that realtor knows that, an estate sale is a logical fit in here, and we've already had those relationships, then you know where to pivot and who to draw upon to make this flow well for that family.
Yeah, totally. Marcel, anything we didn't get to here that you wanted to cover today?
No, I think that's good for my end.
Cool. Cool. Well, Marcel, thank you for sharing. I think Blue Moon Estate Sales is it's a very interesting niche, not one I think a lot of folks in the home services world are necessarily familiar with, but nonetheless
Mhm.
sounds quite lucrative. So, if anyone wants to learn more about your business, Marcel, or connect with you personally, where can folks find you on the web?
I'm on Facebook, I'm on Google, I'm on LinkedIn. Of
Yeah.
course, I've got bluemoonestatesales.com. So I'm out there. Please reach out. We're trying to be everywhere in the community these days, and certainly with everything going on the internet, we're trying to be omnipresent. So
Yeah. Sounds good, Marcel. Well, thank you so much for coming on and appreciate you sharing your story with the Workbench audience.
great. Thanks so much, Brian.